What's up, y'all? Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. You know, I'm sitting here watching some of the news coverage, and of course, it'll drive you crazy if you spend too much time doing it. So I spend very, very, very little time these days. Anyway, as I was going through, I was thinking back of all the different questions people ask the president or the incoming president or the outgoing president. And honestly, these are some of the dumbest questions I've ever heard in my life from these reporters. Now, look, I know they're all Operation Mockingbird paid shills. Look, I get it. But honestly, I sat here thinking, if that were me, or if I just had the opportunity to ask the president anything, what would I do? So from the top of my head, I'm thinking about 10 different questions. And honestly, I could probably fill volumes with the number of questions I would likely ask if given the opportunity, but of course I wouldn't. So if you have a question that you would have liked to have asked the president, because obviously I'm not going to be able to cover them all right now, let me know down below. Because I cannot believe that these questions I hear asked are the questions that the majority of Americans even want to know. So right off the bat, if I was sitting across from the president, like I'm sitting across from you right now, I guess question number one would be, why do we have a Federal Reserve? Who owns it? And why can't we see the books? I mean, this is a question that goes on for a long, long time, and nobody is willing to answer that question. In fact, I would bet $1 to donuts there isn't a single president in modern history that would even dare even think about answering any of these questions. But that's question number one. Question number two. Yeah, I guess you probably saw this one coming, but I would like to know, okay, you're the president of the United States of Amnesia. I'd like to know, because I didn't just come out of the cotton fields, nobody is ever going to convince me that Lee Harvey Oswald shot John F. Kennedy, because I've been to that museum. You can't actually get to the actual spot where they say Oswald supposedly did it because it's got plexiglass all the way around it. But honestly, I would like to know, because the official story was that he was supposedly shot from the back. But if you watch the Zapruder film, you'll find out that his head goes back and to the left, meaning that he was almost certainly shot from the front and the right, or at least one of the shots anyway. But I would like to ask the president, who really killed JFK? And I'd also like to know who killed his brother, RFK. Because once again, you're not going to convince me that Sirhan from the front killed him with a bullet that came within an inch of his ear. Okay? So yeah, those are two more questions I'd like to ask the president. Question number three. I'd like to know who, what, where, when, why, and how are they spraying? I know the how. What are they spraying from the skies right now? We have most of this country that was covered in a mist that nobody can seem to explain. And I would like to know, because what you see up there, they aren't clouds. Okay, let's all be honest about that. Those aren't clouds. And if you think they are, somebody should take a tack hammer and knock you in the head and straighten some things out, because honestly, those are not clouds. Number four, Mr. President, are we ever going to see the Epstein client list? Okay. And second of all, I'd like to know who smoked him, if he's even dead. That's another thing altogether. But yeah, I would like to see the client list. Are we ever going to see that? And then while we're at it, are we ever going to see what was actually on Hunter Biden's laptop? Because judging by some of the people that did look at it, the ones who at least didn't get murdered, there was stuff on there that apparently made police detectives throw up. Okay, question number five. What actually caused the dustification of the Twin Towers on 9/11? Okay, those are two 110-story buildings, as I recall, so there should have been 11 stories of debris. There wasn't enough debris to fill the frickin' lobby of the place, okay? So where did all that go? I'd like to also know, since we're on the topic of 9/11, supposedly two planes hit the two towers, but Building 7 fell in its own footprint in free fall speed. And NIST tells us that this happened through, just regular office fires. Okay, yeah, I guess I need to call Ripley's on that one. Number 6. Mr. President, I'd like to know why we call oil fossil fuel when no fossil has ever been found below 16,000 feet. We routinely drill at 30,000 feet and below all the time. So clearly oil is abiotic. Clearly the earth produces it, okay? And I'd like to know why we call it fossil fuel. Is it because we can create the illusion that it's a diminishing resource when it's the second most plentiful liquid on this planet? Number 7. I think the date is June 8th, 1967. There was a event that happened in the Mediterranean Sea, okay? It happened to one of our ships. And as I recall, I think that ship was actually the most decorated ship in the history of the U.S. Navy. But somehow it's been erased from the history books. Now, I probably can't say who did it on here because that's one of those reasons that they would have to scrub me away from here. But Mr. President, I would like to know who and why they did what they did and why we never talk about it. Number 8. Mr. President, I would like to know why the U.S. Patent Office deep sixes every single free energy device that goes through the U.S. Patent Office. I'd like to know why every inventor like Stanley Myers, who had a car running on water back in the 80s, how every last one of these people either come up dead or silent or disappeared somehow or another. Yeah, why isn't that technology seeing the light of day? Number 9, and this is a simple one, but a rhetorical one. Why on earth can we not buy incandescent light bulbs anymore? Like I said, it's rhetorical because I know the answer. Normally, I would be wearing those red glasses that makes me look like a brown version of Elton John. But I don't have them on right now, as you can tell. Why on earth can't we buy incandescent bulbs? Is it because they have a full spectrum? And all that we can buy are these ones that are in a very narrow blue band with a flicker rate that is not good for you? Why on earth is that the case? And why can't we make that go the other way? And number 10. From the top of my head, I think it's fantastic that the FDA banned red dye number 3 or whatever it's called. But right now, and I know that it was cancer causing, okay? I'll give you that. Like a whole lot of other things, probably a lot of them right in this very room I'm in. But right now we have record numbers with turbo cancers. Things that have never been seen before, people talking about, hey, where did all this come from? You go from being perfectly fine to stage 4 like that. Is anybody ever going to talk about the elephant in the room and why it's happening? Is it a certain mandate that you put in place? Or maybe it wasn't a mandate, but something you allowed to happen that is making this unfold right now? I'd like to know. And like I said, that's a very, very short list. I'd be really interested to know. Like I said, this is by no means exhaustive, but I would love to see down below whatever questions, if you were ever given the opportunity, because I guarantee these prostitutes out there are never going to ask the questions that you and I are going to ask. So what would you ask? Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next time.